Hello, everyone. I am Lena Cisco of the Profiler Task Force, and tonight we profile Dana Morales, a manipulator who played the victim of a hate crime, which was later proven to be a complete lie. She not only disrespected herself, she disrespected so many others. And in my personal view, she completely disrespected military veterans and the LGBT community. So I'm joined tonight with my fellow profilers. I have Susan Ibitz, Michelle Dresbold, and Janine Driver. So before we get into our analysis, ladies, why don't you introduce yourself? We will start with Janine.
Hello. I'm so happy you keep tuning in. Please have all your friends and family watch as well so you can make smart decisions. My name's Janine. I'm the body language expert, and my expertise is from law enforcement with the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms. 17 years, wrote a couple books. They did pretty well, and created a website with my name, JanineDriver.com, to help people just like you make smarter decisions. And I got to tell you, I'm a mom of 3 sons, and I say they're totally screwed, but I'm going to teach them everything I know so they can make smarter decisions too. And I invite you to teach your kids the same. We keep this channel as clean as possible. We try not to swear, but out of all of us, I'm probably the one that swears the most. So I've been roping it in, ladies. I'm pretty proud of myself in the last couple episodes. So thanks for being here. I'm going to turn it over to you, Michelle.
Hi, my name is Michelle Dresbold. I'm a handwriting expert. I'm the author of the book Sex, Lies, and Handwriting. I used to be the consultant for the Pittsburgh Police Department. I was the only civilian selected to train with the U.S. Secret Service document examination program. My specialties range from threat analysis, how dangerous a writer is, identifying who may have written anything, and also personality profiling through handwriting. So through handwriting, I can pretty much tell every single thing about a person, from usually their religion, if they're a procrastinator, if they're successful, if they have a bad temper, if they're a criminal, what type of weapon they like to use. So let's pass it over to Lena.
All right. So I am a former Navy intelligence officer and Marine Corps certified interrogator. I did interrogate members of Al-Qaeda and Taliban shortly after 9/11, where I got a lot of on-the-job experience. When I got back, I worked for a lot of government agencies. I also worked as a contractor with any 3-letter agency you can imagine. And I have been training, government agency personnel, law enforcement personnel, military, special forces since 2003. When COVID hit, I took a lot of my training online. Fortunately, I get to travel again. I did publish a book, and it is called You're Lying, if you want to check it out. And I worked on a TV show for 3 years, Catching Liars. Susan, over to you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Susan Ibitz. I'm a human behavior hacker. Some people hack computers. I hack humans. And I was hiding like you guys. But in my case, for 18 years as a political consultant, I love it to be behind the scene. This is like painful, but I'm getting used to. Like Janine, I'm learning not to curse or use euphemism to avoid that. I'm a civilian hostage negotiator. I have the honor and pleasure to train civilian hostage negotiators, police, lawyers, real estate and salespeople, and how to profile everybody in 90 seconds. It can be done. And I think that we are the example that everything can be done if we propose to do it. So ladies, I cannot wait for this show.
So we have been practicing our craft, all of us, for decades. And we used to travel the entire world speaking, training, investigating, and interviewing, but the pandemic hit. We decided to come together, and now we are the Profiler Task Force, which was actually a blessing in disguise, because now we can share our knowledge with a wider audience, and that audience is all of you. And so we're so glad you're here. And subscribers, thank you so much. We are here to increase your awareness. Why? Well, tonight, it's because we want to teach you some behavioral indicators to look for and to listen for, so you know when to trust someone and you know when not to trust someone, because you don't want to fall victim to lies and manipulation. So whether the IRS calls you up and says, you have to pay us right now, or we're sending authorities to come to your house and arrest you, by the way, they don't do that. Or if it's a coworker that you're working with and they were your friend, but they undermined you and took your promotion. Or is it someone that has suddenly taken a really strong interest in you just to manipulate you? Or how about someone who claims to be terminally ill and then seeking money from you, and you feel bad, and so you give money? Well, tonight, that person, Dana Morales, did just that and much more. When we profile Dana Morales, I'm going to start off with a little bit of background information for you, just so you know who she is and where this story starts from. So in November 2013, Dana Morales, who was openly gay, she was a waiter at the Gallup Asian Bistro in Bridgewater, New Jersey. She posted something on a Facebook page and it went viral. She posted a picture of a receipt that a family left her. And instead of leaving her a tip, they left her a real nasty message. And the message said this: "I'm sorry, but I cannot tip you because I do not agree with your lifestyle." And so, as you can imagine, when people saw this, they were outraged, right? Because you have this military Marine Corps veteran, you have someone who's working hard for a living and who just happens to be openly gay and a lesbian. So people couldn't believe how disrespectful that family could be. And she started collecting a bunch of money because people started sending her money that she deserved from that tip she never got. But what Dana didn't know and didn't count on was that the family who left that receipt, who she waited on, was watching News 4. Because when News 4 caught wind of this story, they ran to Gallup Asian Bistro and said, "We need to report on this and go interview Dana." And during the interview, Dana didn't even say she was angry. In fact, she said she didn't know how she felt. Maybe offended, but if they came back in again, she would serve them, just like everybody else, without anything. And so all the money that came in, Dana ended up collecting over $3,000 from random people, complete strangers, because they empathized with her situation. Later on, we find out that Dana was dishonorably discharged from the Marine Corps. She just stopped showing up for drills. She also lied about being in a combat situation where she was the only survivor and she was never even overseas. And then someone who worked with her at the Cheesecake Factory before she worked at the Gallup Asian Bistro came out and said, "You know what? She came to work one day with a shaved head and she told all of us it's because she's preparing for her chemo treatments because she had brain cancer." And everybody felt bad and they started giving her money. So when News 4 released this, the family came forward and said, "Oh no, we're speaking up because that is our bill, that's our receipt, but we didn't write that message. In fact, we have proof from my their credit card statement that says, not only did we not leave the message, but we left her a 20% tip." So 20%. So before we get into our analysis, I just want to give you a huge shout out to our subscribers, our fans, our followers, and especially to our Patreon ambassadors. Thank you all for being with us. And we are so excited. At the end of the program, we will give you a link to Patreon because we want to guide you there. If you become a Patreon ambassador, you have access to some special things. So you get to go behind the scenes with us. You are also granted access to our little VIP. We call it an after party. Some of us call it a happy hour because we like to bring wine. But anyway, it's just we go a little deeper and a little more informal at 9 p.m. East Coast Standard Time on Wednesdays following the 5 p.m. show release. And we let you guys kind of run the show and answer all of your questions. So before, again, we get right into the analysis, I want to go ahead and just tell you that what you hear tonight is something that you guys can use in your everyday lives. As with all of our videos, these are tools, tips, techniques that you can use. You don't have to have our background. And this is why we're here presenting it to you. So without further ado, I would like to hand it over to Michelle Dresbold. She is our handwriting analysis expert, and she's going to tell us what she sees in Dana's handwriting. And I can't wait to hear it. Michelle, over to you.
I find this case very fascinating because as a handwriting expert, I've worked on many, many, many cases very similar to this. I have found that there are 3 reasons, basically, why a person becomes a wannabe victim. The first one is low self-esteem. They have very low self-esteem, and this is a way to make them feel better. The second reason is for money, greed. Maybe they have low self-esteem to start with, and then they find something and they can get a little greedy. And the third reason is I want attention. Nobody pays attention to me. And I feel sorry for, maybe the fourth is I feel sorry for myself. So let's go into Dana's handwriting, and then I'm going to tell you about a few of my own cases that are similar to this. Why don't we look at the very first slide? As I said, you can tell a lot about a person, let's just from their letter I, not a small letter I, but their personal pronoun I. Why? Because that pronoun is how you write yourself. So if somebody has a big ego and they feel like a winner, their I is huge. Hi, here I am. I'm an egomaniac, or I'm the winner. You look for a big I. It shows high self-esteem. Let's look at the next slide. Now, your little I, it could be printed or cursive. If it's real little wee, I am here, you have a very small self-esteem. You don't feel good about yourself. So you can have a huge self-esteem, be an egomaniac. You could have a normal I, meaning, I am what I am. You can have a little I, and that means, I don't think I'm so great. Why don't we look at Dana's handwriting? What I want you to see is she actually, in the first 3 sentences, has 3 I's. The first I, as in, sorry, the I is pretty big. Hi, I think I'm pretty great. Let's go to the second sentence. The I gets a little smaller. Well, maybe I'm not that great. And by the third sentence, the I is teeny. It's above the line. You almost don't see it as an I. It's floating. That is somebody whose ego is floating. They have a low self-esteem. So maybe she starts off going, I think I'm great. But as things go on, her self-esteem is lower and lower until it's just teeny, weeny, almost like, maybe I don't even exist. Now, I just wanted to talk about a couple cases that I've been involved with, because this is typical of my cases. I've been involved with cases, anything from someone who converted to Judaism, who wound up having swastikas put on her house and horrible graffiti, to nooses in companies with horrible racial epithets, and having to investigate who may have written those. I want to talk about one of my cases in particular, and that was with a 12-year-old girl. It was a high school case where I think she was 11 or 12, and I think she was the only African-American kid in the school. And inside her locker, she got horrible threats, telling, I can't even repeat it, was some of the most vile language I ever had seen, especially for an 11, 12-year-old, about how horrible and it was just very racial and very put down. The school came to me and they said, we believe this girl got in a fight with her best friend. We believe this handwriting belongs to her best friend. And they handed me the handwriting. And they said, we know she did it. We see that the T's the same or the Q's the same. We just need you to, approve of our findings. I looked it over and I called them. I said, well, a lot of teenage girls, they write similarly, but there's some things missing in this. Yes, a few things match, but I'm not sure. And they kept pressuring me. We want you to tell us. I said, well, I'm not sure. Something's missing. So then I said, can you get me more handwriting of kids in the class? So they gave me some more and they said, well, maybe it's this other girl. And I'm like, nah. They're like, yes, but this, one teacher's like, this matches and this matches. I'm like, yeah, but I'm not comfortable. I said, can you get me more handwriting? Finally, they got me one girl's handwriting. And as soon as I saw it, I knew it was this girl. I said, okay, I know who did it. It's not whatever, this person. And they looked at me and they said, well, that's the victim. And I said, oh. And I was just very surprised because the victim, that was one of my first cases. And I was pretty surprised that a victim would write to herself such a horrible, horrible things. And it turns out that the girl was having some very strong emotional issues. The school board and the superintendent, they all came to me and they said, what do you think we should do, Michelle? And I said, well, the girl's having emotional issues. We could go to court and I could prove that she wrote this. I said, but what good is that? She's 11 or 12. Why don't we get her psychiatric help to help her? So we all decided to keep it quiet and get this girl psychiatric help, because I didn't think going to court and ruining her, her life had to be pretty bad to write those things about herself. And that's what we decided to do. And then eventually the other students and the teachers, the mothers and fathers had a petition. They were going to sue the school board because they didn't do enough to help this kid and find out who wrote these horrible letters. So we had to eventually tell them. But as they said, people do this for different reasons. Low self-esteem is one of the biggest. Please give me some attention. I need help. Pity me. And some people do this. A lot of my cases are for money. People do it for money. Dana Morales, she has that low self-esteem. And I do feel sorry for her, though, as I said, but I don't approve of people hurting other people who may really be a victim of a hate crime. So this is a really sorry case. It's a big bulk of my cases. I get so many hate crimes and writing on walls and writing on buildings and writing on gravestones. So when somebody really is a victim, it's sad that somebody thinks that they can become a victim who aren't, but maybe they're a victim in their own mind. So that's a wrap.
Michelle, thank you so much. You couldn't see me, but while you were saying that, my jaw dropped when you were talking about the case that you had with the 11-year-old. I never would imagine. I thought, ooh, who is it? Who is it? It just floored me. But gosh, it's the same case we have here. Dana writes her own note.
Unfortunately, this is fairly common. It's way more common than you think.
Wow.
It's so many people basically either hate themselves or hope that they can use this. And they also think, well, no one's going to suspect me. I would never say horrible things about me. So they think that they're not going to be suspected.
That makes me think of our last case on Drew Peterson. He was a cop, right? And even one of the interviews, he says, listen, I'm not a plumber or an electrician. I'm a cop. I can't abuse my wife. And I went, wow. So electricians can abuse their wives. Okay. So, but he used, right, being a cop, like, I wouldn't do that. Why would you suspect I'm a cop?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Why would you suspect me? Why would I be the one to say horrible things about myself? That's ridiculous.
Yeah. Susan, do you have any questions for Michelle?
Yeah, I'm rewiring my office this weekend, so I should suspect of my electricians. What I'm saying is, I always say, if you want to hurt someone, ignore them. The worst you can do to a human being is ignore them. If you fight them, it's because you care about them. If you feed their fight, it's because you care about them. But if you ignore them emotionally and physically, is the worst you can do. So,
sorry to cut you off, Susan. No. So a lot of times sometimes I talk with a lot of teenagers, right, in regards to bullying and how to handle it. And exactly what you said, like you can pull up any YouTube video, even ours. And there's some comments that are just downright nasty, right? Mm-hmm. And we don't entertain them. Why? Because it's just adding fuel to the fire. And for whatever purpose that reason or that person feels a reason to be so negative or so nasty to other people, well, that's their issue.
It's their own reflection. Some people take it in others because they cannot take it to the real victim. But the worst part is where were the help with these people needed? Right. She was on the service. She did it before, and this is the third strike. And I have a role, maybe because I'm Jewish, the third strike is the goal. She has been doing it. I just hope, because this case was 7 years ago, that she has some help. Because everybody deserves a second chance, but she is in some way twisted in the way that she manipulates others because she feels ignored. Yeah. So pay attention to those warning signs, because from handwriting, behavioral on the words, from the body language, from the face reading, whatever channel you need to take, pay attention to the things that you don't want to be paying attention because you're so busy paying attention to your own things. Like, I'm reading the things that you're saying and just telling you what you're telling me, but we don't want to pay attention.
Yeah. Yep.
Right.
Look for those warning signs. There's a lot of us out there who need some extra guidance, is what I call it, and some help and just somebody to talk to and bounce stuff off. I call it being a soundboard. So we are all here to help each other out, but we need to be able to identify when somebody needs help.
And by the way, regarding the comments, I always say, I don't have any problem if you ask me questions, but you start attacking, you're not going to have anything by me, because it's no way you can establish a conversation and says, because you're done. You're the specialist in linguistics. So Lena says, Lena, I need to tell you, you did this wrong. Instead of, Lena, we need to talk about something that I think is not working. So I always says, you want to have a conversation, it's we. I'm not communicating right. You're not replying right. What do you think?
Oh, I have online courses in that. So a lot of people don't know another side of me, and I'm certified in a lot of leadership, and I'm also certified in organizational change management. I got my degree from Cornell University, a certificate in the psychology of leadership. So I do a lot of training, especially with words and how to speak respectfully to each other. It doesn't mean that you have to go against or go with everybody saying. Voice your opinion, but do so in a respectful way. Totally. I'm full on 100% on board with people being able to speak openly and honestly, but we just have to do it in a very respectful manner. Okay, so we are now going to take it over to our face reading expert, Susan Ibitz. I am dying to know what you see in Dana Morales' face. Take it away.
Do you want to know what is a needy person? I'm going to show you one. Okay. From A to Z, this woman needs so much attention that she opened the refrigerator and she thinks she's on a conference call. Okay, everybody, I'm a face reader, profiler specialist. It's not phrenology, it's not physiognomy, it's to put all the channels of behavior together. So sometimes the first impression you have is the first impression you need to go for it. We keep doubting ourselves all the time. So everything that is pointy is rejecting. Everything that is rounded, we like it. That's the reason we like babies, the advertise and have the pupil fixated and modifying. That is a reason for it. One of the first things that I can see with Dana or Dinah, I don't never know how to pronounce it, like everybody here, I'm going to be destroying. Even though she was on a military or marine environment where you're supposed to be strained and detached from your feelings, you can see a lot of her eyelids. When you can see eyelids of the person is because the strong need of intimacy, bond with pardon, and committed to relationship and with people. What happened when you receive that kind of military training, and Lena, you can back me up on that. One of the things is you cannot be biased. Sometimes you need to make decisions and follow orders and not to be part of your feelings. You cannot get your feelings get away. Well, this person is a feelings walking through the crisis. You can see her mouth is really, really small. She have a really particular small concern to her mouth. And between this picture and the picture that we're going to be seeing next, there's only 2 years of difference. And you're going to notice what are the difference on her face. First of all, we're going to notice that her nose is concave. We start talking about noses, remember thinking, feeling, and doing. So I was telling to the team that her and Drew Peterson, they have a lot of similitudes on the face, even though you cannot see it. First of all, she have a concave nose. That means that she work from feelings. Everything has to do with feelings. So doesn't matter that she think that what she felt or she's feeling is right or wrong. It's what she felt and what is she's gonna go for. She have two things. First of all, her nose is really thin. You can see where the nose starts at the end. She have a thin nose, mean that she's self-made. Everything that happened to her, She made it happen. Now we have a conflict here because we have somebody who work with their feelings, is self-made, never have anything for granted, and need to fight for everything. And on top of that, we have somebody who have a long nose. Long nose need to control their pace and style of work, but worse, value status and quality. Remember when we says that we can determine if a client is going to buy our product from the size of the nose and the size of the nostril? Because you cannot pay for doesn't mean that you don't want to. I don't think from her perspective and features on the face that she wanted to commit a fraud. I think that she was more about, I wanted to be the center of the attention. I want to be seen. I have a cause to represent, and I want that cause to be, go for it. And I think that she was hooked on the loop. Why? Because she have a round chin. When you have a round chin, when acting plus people. So it's about people. When you're talking to others, has to do with people. So instead to make a devil of this woman, first of all, she like luxury. Second of all, she like attention. And we know like kids, when they want attention, they tend to break things only to be the center of the attention. What happens when you have a puppy and they want to be the center of the attention? They break things, they make mistakes, they make noise, not because they want to drive you crazy, it's because they want attention. My profile on her is she wanted attention, she feels rejected, and she feels anger. She used everything who happened to her life. I don't think she ever realized how much this is gonna take off. Why? Because I was checking on the case to verify certain things about her attention. She published the receipt on a gay blog to get attention. One of other media outlet picked her up and did that. That's when this went out of scope and out of control. But this is a person who required a lot of attention. I don't think we're dealing with the devil. I think we're dealing with a small personality with a lot of needs. They're never been satisfied. Lena? Okay, so girls, I think and I feel, and all my years of expertise telling me that this is I feel sorry for her. And I know people like, what the heck, she made a fraud. Yeah. You have 3 ways to commit a fraud. For needs, when you need to feed your kids, I'm not justifying, I'm saying. Right. For attention, or because you feel nobody, and for one time, you have those 15 minutes of fame. Mm-hmm. I think it's a combination of the 3. Mm-hmm. She have the needs to belong because she liked luxury and she did it before, and she get away with that. Mm-hmm. She have the feeling of need, feeling of belonging, and she feeling so small that this was a chance to be the center of something. I feel sorry for her. I'm not angry. I feel sorry.
Susan, I agree with you. I do not look at this person as if she is really out to be malicious. She's definitely not in Drew Peterson's category. It is someone who is striving for attention. Where that comes from, I don't know, but there's a huge problem there. And you had mentioned something, the puppy being center of attention, because I just got a puppy, and it's true. It's the puppy wants attention, and when they don't, or when it doesn't get attention, it acts out. Well, when she doesn't get attention, she acts out. And we see this in repeat behavior. Again, profiling, right? Going to the Cheesecake Factory and telling people you're dying of cancer, and then getting money. Now, whether she asked for the money or not, I don't know. But then when she posted this on Facebook, I guarantee she did not expect it to blow out of proportion and News 4 to come report on her. And at that point, what do? You can't backtrack. You got to stick with your story, right? Because you're really going to look bad. But she really needs to take a deep look inside of herself. I don't know where she is today in the world, and find out some deeper issues. And she really needs to seek professional help in order to combat that.
And the point is, she offered that all the money she's going to collect, she's going to donate it to a cause that she belonged to her. So I don't think we're looking for a devil. I think we're looking for somebody who have a lot of attention. And we see the same in Drew Peterson. He want attention. He needed the social caring and bond. And I think for her, this Cheesecake Factory situation and this tip, it was a call of I want to be cared. I want us to be taking consideration. I want pity from people because some people get addicted. Munchausen syndrome, I think is called when you hurt your own kids to get attention. That's what she had. I'm not a psychologist, but I have seen a lot of people who does crazy things only to get attention. So people feel sorry for them and they take care of them. And that's what is trying my report. Michelle, do you have any questions?
No, it's pretty much what my analysis said.
Cool.
I always say, we always come to the same conclusions.
But you know, it's at the end of the day, though, she's still manipulating other people, right? And it's for the other people who I care about and really want them to say, hey, this is what I need to look for. This is what I need to listen for, because I'm out $100. I could use that $100 for something super important, but I gave it to her because I empathized with her and it was all a lie. Right. So at the end of the day, we're still, you know, here to help people not fall victim to scams like that, regardless of where they originate from or why.
Number one reason why we get full of scams, beside the IRS called, and I actually took it as a training and I recorded only for fun, is pity. Pity is the best way to get somebody scam. Oh, my kid is dying. I have cancer. And I see a lot of people faking and taking pity from others. And it's the best way to get to your pocket and your heart. It's a shame because a lot of people who really need it, who really is victim of these kind of crimes, now they're not going to be believed. Why? Because people like Morales who took it for granted.
I think that's really the worst thing of this. There are a lot of people who are victims of hate crimes. And when you have people who pretend, it makes the people who actually are victims not taken as seriously.
Thank you, Michelle. It's exactly, and that's really how I started this off, because I really feel bad for people who come forth and you know, want to tell, hey, this is what happened to me. And then people are like, really? Well, I don't know if I'm going to believe you because this person did that and she scammed us.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we are going to turn it over to our body language and movement pattern analysis expert, JANINE Driver. JANINE, what do you see?
What don't I see? Well, as a matter of fact, what don't I see is probably more of a concern than what I do see, but she does some unnecessary movements that I want to explore with you ladies, and I want us all to do it. So if we could keep you on camera for my piece tonight, I know oftentimes we don't do this. It'd be helpful if you were on camera because I want you to try on some of the behavior she's doing here, and then you at home to do the same. So let's get my presentation up and running and keep the profilers on. All right, let's look at this, profilers and you at home. This is without the sound. This is Dana Morales, and you can see that she's doing what? What are you noticing? So what types of things?
Shrugging. Her shoulders and her head are kind of shrugging.
Okay.
Into
Lots.
And
I don't know. It's like, I don't know all the time. If I ask you what you want for lunch and you do this with the shoulders, you don't need to open your mouth. I don't know what you want. You don't know either.
It looks a little like a turtle, like ducking her head, head.
Which is what happens too. It's called turtling when we get small like that. I said this once talking about a political figure and I got hammered for it because I ran out of time to explain more what it is. Look at this behavior. So let's all do exactly what she's doing. And I want you to feel, do you feel confident? Do you feel angry? Do you feel betrayed? Do you feel like a hate crime just happened to you? Ready? So you're going like this, you're going like this.
Oh, I know.
Feel what it feels like. All this unnecessary movement. So all this unnecessary movement. It's hard to watch. It's even harder to try it at home and feel how uncertain this is. What's missing here though is anger. What's missing here is disgust, right? Or maybe even fear if in fact this was a hate crime.
So it's possible you made this up because this isn't their handwriting and this isn't how they left the check. That's not my handwriting. I don't know. Again. I don't know.
Tonight, we talked to Morales, who's sticking with her story and says she's certain she wasn't tipped.
You see why they're upset? I guess. I mean,
okay,
it's possible you.
Let's. I know statement analysis is your jam, Lena, but I have to step in your lane a little bit here. Do you see why they're upset? I guess. So, you know, I struggle with weight. I go up and down in weight sometimes. Imagine if someone's like calling me a fat ass and they go, well, I never called her that. And I know as a fact you did. And then that's like me saying, you saying, can you see why they'd be upset, JANINE? I'd be like, no, I don't know why they're upset because they're lying. And what's missing here is her flat out calling this family liars. They are liars. And what is also missing is the play-by-play of what happened. What she should be doing here, a truthful person would be doing, Lena and Susan and Michelle and you at home, is that they should be telling us the play-by-play. Here's what happened. Here's what I can tell you. I walked over to the, well, not here's what I can tell you. Here's what happened. I walked to the table. I saw them fill out the form, the receipt. I saw them. They asked if they could borrow a pen, or I gave them a pen to sign it. I took their credit card. I brought back this sheet. Like, give us the play-by-play. Call them liars. Anytime someone, I find this fascinating. I don't know what's happening psychologically, but when people are lying about hate crimes, or Roger Clemens, I believe, was lying about steroids, right? There, and when asked, Brian McNamee, who was your trainer, said he gave you steroids. He doesn't say, well, Brian McNamee is a liar. You know what Roger Clemens said? How do I prove my innocence? Like, I have no problem. If you lie about me, I have no problem calling you a liar. Lena, 6 people told me you cheated on your new husband just yesterday. What do you have to say about that?
I didn't. And who are the 6 people?
Right. And who are the 6 people? I didn't do that. Right. It's that strong denial. This is a weak denial, her body language wise and her words. So I pulled a couple.
Quick question, Janine. She pulled away at some point, like she's pulling away her body when she's answered, like no idea, like she want to get away from the lie. That is the reason, well, Janine, you're the expert.
Be careful, Susan, of saying she wants to get away from the lie. So we don't want to get into the world of mind reading. All we know is she's saying something here, and her body language is all over the place and moving, and she's creating distancing. Mm-hmm. So sure, there is something that is called,
distancing.
Psychological distancing. And so what will often happen, sorry, my alarm's going off. I have another webinar coming up. So what will often happen is psychological distancing, right? I'm Janine, I'm going to attack you. And, I'm right in your face, but we'll usually take a step back before the attack. And so that's something we'll talk about another time. But yes, is she creating distance from what she's talking about? Yes. Is there some other stuff happening? Yes. I want to go to this Duke rape case. I don't know if you remember this. I want to say it was 2007. The Duke lacrosse team hired a couple dancers to come dance, and one of them had some mental illness, and it seemed as if she was probably intoxicated or on some prescription drugs. It seemed as if, according to the people that were there, she wasn't into it. The other woman was into it. They have like a verbal altercation, and what happens is this woman passes out on the stairs. And to make a long story short, when the woman who passes out on the stairs that's on medication, has some mental illness, is taken to a hospital, she's asked by a nurse, were you attacked? Were you, raped? Were you raped? And she knew how to play the game evidently, and said yes, and was able to get some free health care. And it became this big, huge thing. This is one of the first cases on social media, or not even social media, just on the media in general. This, along with Monica Lewinsky, that were tried in the public eye. And so the Duke rape case, the Duke lacrosse players were found guilty before they even had their day in court. It was a disaster. Of course, the woman was making it up. And I want to play, this is one of the lacrosse players that had spoken a couple times during this. And this is after the case was dropped, and she admitted that she had lied. So let's look at this. I want you to notice both the body language and his word choices, and what is different. I'm going to ask my profilers, what is different here versus what we saw with and heard with Dana Morales?
Chose to speak out against us before any of the facts were known. I truly hope that you are never put in a position where you have to experience the same pain and heartache that you've caused our families. While your hurtful words and outrageous lies will forever be linked to this tragedy, everyone will always remember that we told the truth. And in the words of Abraham Lincoln, truth is the best vindication against slander.
All right, what did you hear? What did you see? And it's a written statement, by the way.
There's no movement. I mean, he is secure, no shoulder shrugging, dead on.
Right, and everyone has a different baseline, but okay, no movement. He's saying his statement is solid, dead on. Good. Susan.
He talked about how much hurt the lied. He's talking about feelings that when somebody lied to you or is lying about you, you felt hurt. And that shows not only the words on the face, and you see the.
And
I hope you're not put through this. Okay, Michelle, what did you hear or see?
I heard everything everyone heard before, but right now I see, we learned in a previous profile passports, he's sucking in his lips. I just noticed that right now,
Yes.
looking down.
So what I say is when we don't like what we see or hear, our lips disappear. So here, and he's looking down. We tend to look down when we get emotional, and he could be reading the statement. He also says what? The word lies and the word truth. We will forever be known that we told the truth. And what we're not hearing from Dana Morales is here, I'm told the truth. I'm telling you the truth. This is what happened. She's saying, that's not my handwriting. That is what's called a weak denial. This is a case that happened. This man was beaten up in a park. He was just simply exercising, and people came and they took this big, huge like rock and beat the living daylights out of him. I'm going to play this for you briefly, even though this is a physical hate crime versus Dana Morales with this, this verbal hate crime or the supposed verbal hate crime. I want you to notice with his body language as he's talking about the crime itself, which is what Dana Morales was just asked to do. Listen, can you see why these people are upset? And she's like, that's not my handwriting. Yes, I can see. I can understand why they're upset. What do you mean you can understand why they're upset? If they wrote it, you should be angry. Why are they upset? I'm the person they persecuted. She suddenly became no longer the victim. Watch this, though.
He saw me jump towards me, shutting the He saw me jump towards me.
Right out of the gate, he's saying, someone jumped towards me, and he's doing eye blocking. And sometimes you'll hear Lena and myself, and sometimes even maybe Michelle or Susan talk about eye blocking is often done with deception. But here's a physical attack, right? So if Dana Morales had some type of mental pain, we might have seen her do some eye blocking when talking about the pain, but she doesn't even talk about the pain, so we don't even see that. So let's keep watching.
Shutting the rocks with full force towards my head. Then he jumped on me and started to fight with me, trying to knock me in the face. Probably, we'll say 20, 25, 30 times with his fist.
All right. He's now using what are called illustrators. He's telling us with his body language what happened, and they hit me in the face. And we see none of that with Dana Morales. We see a lot of empty, meaningless movement. Meaningless, just to let off stress and anxiety. This is why Lena will be the first, I'm sure, to concur with me. When you are interviewing someone, you want to put them in I come from law enforcement, Lena comes from the military, but we both train law enforcement, is that we want them in a still chair. Why do we want them in a still chair? So the movement we see physically happening. We don't want a chair that's naturally bouncing or has wheels. We want the movement to be connected with you and your stress and anxiety, like we see with Dana Morales. Here, we see this gentleman who is physically attacked, giving us these illustrators, this play-by-play of what was happening. We don't see any of that in any of the interview footage with Dana Morales. She doesn't say, listen, I walked over the table. I handed them a pen. I picked up the receipt. I didn't even notice it until I walked back to the cash register. I walked back to the cash register. They're out of here. And I look down and I see this hate written on this receipt. There are no illustrators. This is indicative of someone who is not a victim to a hate crime. Very similar to Jussie Smollett, who staged a hate crime that he was attacked for the color of his skin and for his sexuality. Let's finish it up with watching this guy and our Duke rape case, the person who had been accused, one of many. Now go back to Dana Morales. No illustrators happening. Nothing right here. She doesn't say liar. She doesn't say anything about the truth. And as a matter of fact, she says, well, maybe I can kind of understand why they might be upset. What? This screams deception. And I love, Lena, that you picked Dana Morales because she's an everyday person, not just a celebrity, not just a notorious killer or someone that everybody knows. It's an everyday person. It could be the waitress next door. It could be your babysitter. It could be the bus driver. It could be your own brother or cousin. It could be the person that you're best friends with. So everyone lies. Can you spot it? Hopefully, using our techniques, you'll be able to make smarter decisions. Big apology to the family that was put through the ringer, and I'm so glad they saved the receipts. The importance of saving those receipts. Lena and ladies, back to you. Any questions? I guess we're all together. I never got rid of you guys.
Yeah, so, you did. That was fabulous, Janine. Oh my gosh, I loved it. Obviously, agree 100%. And I said, obviously, on purpose. Ladies, Susan, do you have any questions for Janine?
Yeah, it was significant when the rabbi of the Orthodox Jew was doing this with the fist. He was physically reviving the situation.
Reliving
the situation. Yeah, my accent. reliving the situation, Dana Morales in any point shall show any act of hate. I have an accent, I'm from outside, and many times I've been told like, oh, you're intelligent is not capable because you have an accent or you're dyslexic. And when I repeat those situations, you can see like, go like, and he told me, okay, half Italian, half Jewish, I'm passionate, but it's impossible not to feel the pain. And most when it's something so hatred, and 7 years ago when was worse than today, it's not expression that you can see the rabbi or the orthodox like showing the expression with the body. It's impossible not to see.
Well, as a matter of fact, Lena and I teach in our classes, because we teach a 5-day certification course in reading people at the Body Language Institute. And we teach, when you think someone is lying, tell them to paint a picture. Say to them, listen, I want to pretend I'm a movie director. Put me in your story. Put me in my story. What happened? What did you do next? Where were you? I talked to a friend of mine earlier tonight. My class is starting in a minute. I talked to a friend of mine earlier tonight, and he was a producer for the TV show Cops. Remember that? Bad boys, what you gonna do? And I said, how did you get these people, like killers and drunk drivers and battered people who beat the crap out of their kids and wives? You had to get them to sign a release? And he goes, yeah. He goes, I got one guy to sign a release in the jail cell. They sent the camera guy goes, yeah, he's not going to sign the release. And this guy, a friend of mine, his name's Jimmy, he goes down, goes in the cell. He goes, let me in. He goes, I'm going to get the guy to sign this release. And they didn't want to let him in the jail cell. He goes, no. And I go, how did you do it? I go, put me in the jail cell. Was he sitting on the bed? Were you standing? Was he standing? He's telling you to go F yourself. Like, paint the picture. And this guy, Jimmy, the former producer of Cops, was able to paint the picture in the blink of an eye. As a matter of fact, truthful people sometimes will say something wrong and then correct their story. We think that liars do that, but actually truthful people have no problem going back, getting more data, which we don't see with Dana Morales at all. I'm looking for someone that goes back and says, wait a minute, I remembered this. Not because someone else remembered it, because you did. So my friend Jimmy said, yeah, he was sitting on the bed, and he goes, wait a minute. What? He wasn't even no, it wasn't a bunk bed yet, because he was just in the regular cell. He goes, actually, it was a bench. I walked in, we were both standing up. He sat on the bench. It wasn't a bed. And I sat down next to him. That's indicative of someone telling the truth, adding additional details every time they go on. By the way, and I don't know if you know this, and I'm going to add this one last part and maybe we'll talk about this case later about Susan Smith, who drowned her kids in the early 90s, right? When she was giving the diagram, right, describing what the guy looked like that supposedly took her car and carjacked her, you're supposed to erase as much as you draw, and you're supposed to remember more information. And, a day later, you're like, oh, by the way, the nose wasn't that big, or the mole was over here, a little up higher. And Susan Smith never did that. The more you tell the story, your memory begins to come back through senses. Like smell is a great way to unlock your memory. You lose your keys, go back to think about the first smell of the day and take it a couple steps at a time. And I promise you, the smell may just help you find your keys where you put them. So yes, there's usually more details, and it just didn't happen here.
Well, I tell you, Janine, that is one technique that I teach when I interview people. I'm like, listen, when you ask questions, you have got to ask them, what did it smell like? What did you smell at the time of? Because we call it strategic interviewing. And what it does is it anchors back to memories like, oh, wait a minute. That's right. You just jogged my memory. Well, I did it because the way in the technique that I asked the question. You got to be very specific, but I'm so glad.
Yeah, we'll talk about smells another time too. We call it analytic interviewing. So, yeah. Michelle, any questions for you?
Yeah.
No, that was, I enjoyed that. Thank you.
Yeah, so to all the victims of real hate crimes, I'm a prayer person. I say prayers for you, for your family, for your loved ones at the Profiler Task Force. We love you. We care about you. We love you. I'm sending prayers that a team of angels surrounds you as you're going through this. And we want to let you know, if you're telling the truth, we will know for sure. And so it doesn't matter if no one else believes you. We believe you. So we love you.
Right. Yeah. All right. So I guess it's my turn now as your statement and analysis expert. So I'm going to play a quick little video, and I'm going to show you that receipt that we've been talking about, and I'm going to analyze it. And when I saw this first come out on the news, I knew it was a scam, and I'm going to tell you why.
When I read the note, seeing what they said, that they can't tip me because of my lifestyle, I was rather offended, mad, like I didn't know how to react to that.
Dana says that she posted the message on her Facebook wall to vent, and then it went viral. But despite being hurt by the note, she says that she would not confront the family if they came in again, but instead serve them like any other customer.
Okay, so from that video clip, this is what I had a problem with, and this is why I didn't trust her answer, nor did I believe her. She was asked, how did it make you feel? Okay, that's a question that I use in my interrogation and interviewing techniques, because a truthful person will tell you how they feel. But a liar forgets to attach feelings to their lie. So they will answer something like Dana answered. I guess I felt offended, mad. I didn't know how to react to that. I have to wave the BS flag because that's a complete lie. If you were telling the truth, Dana, you would know exactly how to react because you would have reacted. But liars have to replace the emotions afterwards and think about what type of emotion they should have felt. So what I should have heard from Dana was, I was offended, I was mad. But I didn't. I heard, I guess I was offended, with an inflected voice, which just tells me you are questioning yourself. So if you're questioning yourself, I'm certainly going to question you too. Mad, again with inflection. I didn't know how to react. So I called her bluff right then and there. I knew it was a complete lie. So a point for all of you out there: if you suspect someone of lying, ask them how they feel about an event or a thing or a person. Because if they're being truthful, they will come back and tell you how they feel. If they're not, they're going to have to think of how they should have felt. All right, so let's move on, because I analyzed the note like Michelle analyzed this when she looked at her handwriting. I'm analyzing it because I'm looking at the words that she chose to use. So first we have, I'm sorry. So let's put this into context. If someone is going to choose to write a nasty note and not leave a tip, probably not going to apologize for their actions. I'm just saying. But because I see a contraction, I'm, and I don't see a non-contraction, which is I am, it comes across as truthful. And perhaps Dana is feeling sorry for the lie she's about to engage in. So that's number one. Number two, we have the word but, and I think I mentioned this in my other videos. I call it the but syndrome, because when but, a coordinating conjunction, comes along, it negates everything that comes before it. So you can scratch out that I'm sorry. And we start with, I cannot tip because I do not agree. Well, those are non-contracted denials. And oftentimes when people lie, they try to convince you of the lie and they will break down contractions. Truthful people don't mind using contractions. So you will oftentimes hear, I can't tip because I don't agree. Now, those of you who are as old as I am and come from my generation or before, we were taught when we had to write out grammar, to properly write, you had to break out those contractions. So it could be that, again, context. Now, she is much younger than me. I don't know if it's a grammar thing, but I can tell you it is a huge indicator of deception. But the biggest one comes here. And a lot of times when I show this note to people, they don't even see it. And that is, she does a double word. So if you really read it, it's, I'm sorry, but I cannot tip because I do not agree with your lifestyle. With, it just tells me that you lost your train of thought and had to re-pick it up again. And so that's why we have two words. So I do not believe this note. I knew immediately it was a lie from statement analysis. And just for the fact that she could not answer how she felt, she had to guess about it. Wrong, Dana. So that's my analysis. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And we are now going to move over to closing out this show and landing the plane, as we say. Thank you guys for watching tonight's episode. So next week, we're going to profile someone a little different. So tune in to discover some behavioral indicators to look for and listen so you don't judge a book by its cover and you don't make up assumptions and perceptions about people. Don't forget, if you like what you see here, subscribe to our channel, and we enjoy hearing from all of you. We really do try to respond to all of your comments. So forgive us if we don't get to it. We do read them. We also ask you guys to be respectful with one another and keep it classy. And with that, I am going to sign off. I am Lena Cisco. Thank you so much.
How can people become Patreon members? Patreon.
I'm getting there. All right, so I'm going to tell you that right now. Patreon members, okay, you guys get special stuff. I know you've heard us talk about it before. Go to patreon.com/profiler task force. You can also find the link on our webpage, the Profiler Task Force. So there's different tiers, and when you become an ambassador, each tier, subscription based, provides you with a whole bunch of stuff. So some of you may get a chance to have a free coaching session with us. Some of you get a chance to win books and more stuff. And then some of you get a chance chance to join us in our after party / happy hour, as we call it, which is 9 p.m. East Coast Standard Time, and it airs or goes live right after our debut of that week's episode, which airs at 5 p.m. both on YouTube and Facebook Live. So without further ado, I'm going to sign off. Let me thank Susan Ibis, Michelle Dresbold, and Janine Driver. I love you guys. I'm so happy. So from all of us at the Profiler Task Force to all of you, stay safe and have a good night.
Thank you, Lena Cisco. You forgot your name. You did it. You killed it.
Me too.
Bye, everybody.
Good night.